the Miracles and Millions Show. This is your go-to show for living a life of miracles, where we're taking the limits off what you believe is possible. It's time to play big, be bold, and shine bright. I'm your host, Michelle Humphrey. The Miracles and Millions Show is created for the person who is committed to playing big in business and in life to achieve their greatest impact for good, while being miracle-minded, celebrating all of their blessings, and always finding spiritual-based solutions to absolutely any problem or challenge. Albert Einstein has a quote that has shaped my life. There are only two ways to live your life. One, you can live as if nothing is a miracle, or you can live as if everything is a miracle. I chose over 20 years ago to run my business and my life as if everything is a miracle. And because of this decision, it has created a very joyous and prosperous life. Plus, back in 2000, I became a business coach. And in the last 2 decades, I have helped thousands to live miracle-minded, make millions, and have a powerful, positive, lasting impact for countless others. A simple way to understand what a miracle is to know it's a shift in perception. Miracles occur often when we ask Spirit to help us to see and experience something through Spirit's limitless vision versus ego's limited vision. I grew up with a very limited vision for my life, and I was believing just to get a good corporate job and have a loving family and lead a simple life. However, through the amazing mentors and coaches, I started opening up to play bigger, and I was inspired to start a business that would make a massive impact on the planet. And just to cut to the punchline, that business, the first one, it failed in a very big, miserable way. And it sent my fiance and I $858,000 in debt. Yeah, I said that number right. And I will tell you at first, even though this number was so much bigger than I was, I thought, okay, there's got to be a way to turn it around. I was in the happiest time of my life. It was just 2 months before my wedding. I was working my tail off and was thinking and hoping somehow businesses just hit bumps in the roads and we were going to find a solution to make this work. I got married with what felt like a big black cloud of debt and struggle hanging over my head, but somehow still this hope that we'll turn this debt around. We had many, many months of money going out the door with nothing coming in. Even though prior to my marriage, I had set up my life where I had over $150,000 in savings in an attempt to save the business, I blew through all the savings I had. We also went on to max out every single one of our credit cards. And now my new husband and I, we totally ran out of money. We got so far behind on bills to the point that bill collectors were calling us daily. We went from living a high life to living off of canned food and ramen noodles. And after a few months of this, I totally flipped out. My life was falling apart. I was falling apart. The business had crashed and burned to the point that there was no saving it, and my new marriage felt like it was not going to make it either. I let the outside circumstances of a failed business, blowing through all my savings, $150,000, becoming totally broke and having no direction consume me. My marriage was failing, and we were doing a great job of beating each other up. And this sent me into a downward spiral, and it felt like I fell into a deep, dark hole, and I saw no way out. I got stuck somewhere between being overwhelmed and depressed and felt paralyzed for 9 months. I wasn't sleeping. I was literally pulling out chunks of my hair, and it was so hard on my new husband, John, and I. For 9 miserable months, I was so stressed. This is not the way to start a new marriage. I kept thinking this business disaster is killing me. My heart hurt so bad, and I really thought it was going to have a heart attack. I did have a mentor in my life, And he did keep saying to me that this was going to turn into be one of the greatest blessings of my life. I will say that not only was I not believing him, that this business disaster could not be a blessing, I had to pull away because I was in such turmoil. I could not hear his positive message and blessing. I wanted to know how this was going to turn around. Someone labeling the worst thing that had ever happened to me as a blessing, it was just making me mad. He sounded crazy. Until I met a different mentor who basically was telling me the same thing as the first mentor. Both mentors had said this $858,000 as a debt, it was a blessing in disguise. However, what shifted my perception to see it as a blessing is the second mentor started talking to me about the science of manifesting and why it really mattered what I was thinking about and what I was saying and what I was focusing on. And if I kept saying that this business is killing me, it very well may. We talked about universal laws and principles and how I had to get the universe to work for me versus against me. I had to use my mind in a way that directed my thoughts to what I wanted to create, to use all of my senses, to fully believe and speak to what I wanted in a state of absolute certainty. To turn this $858,000 debt around, I had to tap into the invisible force and imprint my vision for what I wanted, not what I feared. He referenced what's called one-directional thinking. And I knew my problem was I was all over the place. I had been a meditator, but I had stopped meditating, which I had loved because I couldn't sit still, and I was consumed by worry and overwhelm. I started to fine-tune what I was learning. I now knew I had to stay consistent and to turn all my lack and not enough feelings into feelings of being wealthy. I will say, this felt like telling me I had to get to the moon. How do you feel wealthy when you're $858,000 in debt and you have no money for food? Literally, all I had were pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. Not my definition of being wealthy. But I started to understand the way the universe works, and it works on vibration, and it cannot tell the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is real. So with all of my intention, I started holding pennies and adding zeros. I was allowing myself to hold a penny and to feel grateful, even though my brain was saying, it's a stupid penny. And as I started to add zeros, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros to pennies, guess what? This added up to something that I could be grateful for. I was fighting my brain. My brain wanted to go into fear and anger and resentment, but I stayed with it. And I'm not here to sugarcoat this. It took me months, daily focusing on being wealthy and seeing us at a debt and having the money to do what we wanted to do when we wanted to do it, to start to believe it. I allowed myself to feel like I was holding on to tens and millions of dollars in my mind. It felt like a lie at first, but I was opening up to faith and I was tapping into believing something was happening in the unseen realm. Yes, it felt insane to call myself wealthy. I even felt like it was impossible to feel wealthy when I was in the worst financial shape of my life. But I was wrong. I kept with it, and I saw myself speaking on stage, saying to the audience how I turned around an $858,000 debt in record time. And that $858,000, it wasn't even a lot of money. And I saw it was a total blessing. And I kept seeing I was fully out of debt, and I was feeling the freedom of having the money to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. My belief in absolute certainty had grown to a whole new level. The first sign of the shift is I got a $2 rebate check in the mail. And even though it was $2, I celebrated that. And then I found $5, and I celebrated that. A couple weeks later, I literally found two $20 bills, $40. I kept adding zeros to it. I was making progress. And I found then $100 bill. And of course, my brain's like, okay, we got to speed this up a little bit more, but it was growing. And then started to get some ideas and started to create some business. And I started to make thousands. And I just kept believing how wealthy I was and that money was flowing to me from all these different sources. And then I started to get a glimpse that $858,000 was soon to be paid off somehow, some way. The worry weakened. And it was a blessing. It was a blessing to see that the outside circumstances didn't need to determine the way that I was feeling. I was healing my fears with money. I actually got excited that this mess was going to be one of the greatest stories of my life. One of my close girlfriends who knew how stressed out I had been, she had seen this entire process from beginning, middle, and end. And she knew how freaked out I was. She knew literally that I wasn't sleeping at one point and pulling out my hair. And she was very, very concerned for me. But now here she is witnessing this shift in me. And I'm no longer freaked out or scared about the debt. And just to emphasize, nothing had changed in my outer world. If anything, it had gotten worse. I kept saying at times it felt like bombs were going off all around me, but nothing was hurting me. The creditors were still calling, but the shift was taking place inside of me. And now here's my girlfriend seeing me so happy, hearing me say that I'm glad that this debt and this failed business has happened because I knew it was a temporary situation and the debt was going to be gone soon. I was embracing it and welcoming the experience of being $858,000 in debt, still with hardly any money coming in. And then she said something to me. And she asked me very seriously, do you think you're losing your mind? And I thought about it. I thought, wow, could I be losing my mind? And then it hit me. Yes, yes, I am. Yes, I'm losing my mind. And it's the greatest thing that could happen to me. I'm losing my point of view of scarcity. I'm losing my point of view of being limited. I'm opening up to God's point of view, as I call it. And I love it. I want to lose my mind. And it would be a great idea for you to lose it as well. I knew I had 100% locked my mind onto my vision, and no part of me was in fear any longer. And it was from this mindset, days later, that we attracted a private investor, something so completely unlogical, to turn this debt around. We wound up literally selling off our company, all the products, everything that went with it for $1, and he took over the debt. And overnight, not only were we out of that $858,000 debt, we were back to zero. And all zero may sound not very appealing. You can zoom right past zero, so it was feeling pretty exciting. And it was in this mindset that it might look like I had nothing, but I knew I had everything. I knew how abundant I am. I knew how wealthy I was and prosperous and rich. And that following month, we went on to create over $20,000. That year, over $400,000. And from the time that I really decided, I got to stop fearing my situation. I got to stop complaining about it, worrying about it, being overwhelmed or depressed by it. It took 4.5 months for the miracle to happen. And the power of being miracle-minded, I want to emphasize, not only can it make you, and it will make you a lot of money, it can make you millions. This works for every single person because it works by law for every single person. The universe does not have the ability to play favorites. It works the same for all. The Miracles and Millions Show will help you to raise your standard of what you are believing is possible. And it starts with your level of consciousness, which really just means raising your awareness to truth and inspiring you to notice all the miracles in your life. I'm doing this show to help change the quality of your life and the results you are experiencing. You will also be able to share your miracles and be celebrated in our Facebook group. Plus, I'll offer you bonus live shows where you'll be able to call in and share your miracles and the positive impact you are making on the planet. All Miracle and Millions shows will be available Thursday. So you have all of Friday and over the weekend to ensure by Monday you will be in a fresh and inspiring miracle mindset to start your week off strong. With the new name for Mondays, Miracle Mondays. So sign up now and make sure you are getting each episode and continue on with your number one go-to show to live miracle-minded, make millions, and make a positive impact. Your time is now. Be a part of the conversation on Facebook and become a Miracles and Millions manifester at michellehumphrey.com/connect. Let's play together because living miracle-minded is the gift you give yourself that has a massive impact on others and paves the way to make you millions. Your time is now.